Okay, I like that. Before I pull it off, I usually try to burnish my cutting lines or throwing lines or whatever. There's a couple ways you can burnish. You can burnish with your wood knife, this part of it. Just makes it a little neater. It seals in the grog that might have been raised while you were trimming. It also for me, it also compresses the bottom. Just makes it look a little bit neater. And you can also use your trusty aluminum tool for the wider surfaces. Now, to get it off, it's stuck on fairly well. To get it off, you can twist. Some people twist it off. We don't suggest that you push it off, because what's going to happen with that is that it'll warp the edge opposite of the way you're pushing. So here's the way I do it. Just basically introduce some more air in there as it jars upwards. So I'll show you guys what I usually try to do. Let me make sure this thing is focusing. Is I try to put a little edge here where I'm going to put my wax, or I'm going to stop the glaze with. You see that right there? And I can show you this in class. There you go. There's a better shot. I usually put a little edge at the bottom of my pots, and I know that I can drop the wax here, just on this edge, and then make sure that the glaze stops right there. There's a little convex that I talk about on the bottom. So now I'll do another video where I make the handle. Okay, so I'm going to put a handle on this little Tankard style mug. And this is the way I usually do it. There's a dozen different ways to do handles, including extruding them and pulling them separately and then placing them on your piece. But I tend to do it this way. It's something that I come up with, been doing for a while. I usually just roll out a carrot like this, just similar close. And just from having done this a little while, I know that there's more than enough here. I usually do is place a little angle on it, because that's where I'm going to be putting this handle. So that's it. I've got a carrot basically. I'll kind of shape it to where I want it, how I want it to look on the pot. It's usually like a upside down U. And I'll pick a spot on my mug, see if there's any blemishes or something that I want to cover up. I don't really see any. I'll just go ahead and place it here. I think that'll probably work. So I basically mark where I want to put it, and I know by having this here I can see pretty much how wide I want the score marks. I'll do X's, then I'll do vertical, and I've got my finger inside of here to make sure that I support it, because this is still somewhat soft. Okay, so usually I'll put a little water there to get it started. getting soft just in that area where I've scored it. Then I score this thing, and what I'll probably want to do in class, I'll show it to you, but I stick my knuckle in there just to give it a little concave suction type look to it, and then I'll score the inside. Now I won't score all the way out, I just score the inside part. I'll do an X, then I'll do vertical and a horizontal, depending on how you want to look at it. And then I usually have a bottle of slip made from the same clay body. I usually use one clay body most of the time. It's a B mix, and then but if I'm working in porcelain or whatever, I'll usually plan on making some slip out of that clay body if I'm expecting to do any kind of assemblage. So I'll drop it all in here in this nice little well of score marks. And my slip, I usually have a little bit of vinegar in there, and I blend it in with some toilet paper to give it some fiber. It's called a super slip, or magic water for some people. And I'll actually have some in class with made out of Dover, because most of you guys are using Dover. So next step is I place it on there. Again, I'm supporting inside. Take a good look at it, make sure it's vertical this way, and then I'll start blending it in to my pot. Try to keep your tools clean so that when you're using them you don't spread any more of the clay boogers. Now the main thing is to get it blended in right now, and then after it's dried a little bit, bone dry, you can take a scrubby tool or a drywall sandpaper and smooth it out a little bit better. But I try to do as much of the smoothing as possible now. Close enough. And you're saying, how are you going to make a handle out of that? Well, here's the most important step of pulling a handle off of your piece. You lay it down and you let it sit for about 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, and you don't touch it until then. What I usually do is, if I've got a half a dozen to a dozen mugs, I'll get to this stage with one, and then I'll trim the next one while this is sitting, which is what I'm going to do now, and I'll see you on camera after I get started pulling this. Alright, so I'm back on camera. I'm going to pull that handle. I've let this sit for about 5 minutes now, a little less probably, and I'm just going to get my handle sort of wet. The important part of doing this, I think, is starting out very slow, and all I concentrate on right now is the join and making sure that the transition between the join and the handle is the way I like it. And I'm always holding the strongest part of the mug, which is the bottom of it right now. I take a look at how that transitions, and I can just basically push it down to where I need to, because then once I have it the right movement away from the pot, I probably won't be touching that. I'll be pulling the rest of this. Okay, there's a little divot here, so I'll just kind of work on that just a bit. I'll check it, and here's what I do. I usually use my other arm, my dry part of my arm, to take a look at it as I turn it. Like that. Okay, so I'm satisfied with the join right now. I'm going to work on getting this to where it's a handle. Again, take your time. Don't rush it. And I know for a fact, after pulling it a couple times, that this is going to be more than enough handle here, so I'll probably pinch off a little bit. And that's why I do a carrot, and that's just me. You guys can do it just straight, but I like a little taper to my handles. Turn it often, turn it towards you. I'm looking at how straight it is from the pot this way as I turn it. I'm looking at all the little bumps, if there's any, that I can smooth out. I'm looking at any divots that I can pull clay past. And I'm also looking at the final taper, and I know that's way more than enough, so I'm going to pinch it off right here. I'm going to turn it around, take a look at it from the back side. Turn it around again. Keep turning it. It's getting close. So this is where I usually tell people, if they want to put a line or a groove, this is the time to shape that line or groove. I just usually keep everything plain. I mean, but if you want to put a groove, then you start working on that now before you finish it. And I'll probably try and do one of those in class. Okay, I'm going to pinch it off here. There's more than enough there. I'm getting to the stage where it's pretty much finished. I'm going to keep that taper at the bottom. Alright, we're pretty close here. Here's the next important part. Get the slip off your hands. Use your apron. Support here. Take a look at it. If I'm looking at this straight on like that, I see a little bit of curve there that I'm going to correct now. Get the slip off. Now I can sit here and take a look at how this form will look. And this is why I put an angle in that cut, because now it's got a natural lift to it. I look at it this way, make sure it's vertical. I figure where I want to put the end of the handle, straight underneath here. I'll just score it just a little bit right here. That's all I need. I don't need to put any slip there because there's this bottom of this handle's already got some sticky stuff on it. I'm going to move that down just a little bit. I'm dipping it back in my bucket. And I'm just working on this section here. I like that. So I get the slip off my hands again. I get set. I look at it this way, like that. Then I just finish it. Now you can finish it by just pushing in. You can finish it with a stamp. You know, if you have a stamp, you can finish it that way. I tend to just push it in with my finger, or else I'll just use whatever tool I have. To me, that's good enough. Yeah, that's good enough. Then I start to work on just a little bit of the cleanup. Now, a lot of this cleanup is going to happen after I let it dry a bit. And I'll just take a scrubby tool or a, you know, those plastic Brillo pads. Really good for cleaning up joins, places you don't want the clay boogers to show. Now I'm looking at it straight this way, and I see a little ridge a little higher, so I can push that down. I like that. I like that natural curve there. This area right here, I'll clean up with a scrubby tool. I think we're pretty much done.